All right, folks, we're testing out the new Hamskea archery rest today. It comes with, the new wedge lock lever with the slack cord management, the zero tolerance technology, the compatible low profile quiver, ability, sound dampening launcher overlay, the new wedge lock, integrated swappable features of the PRS exchange, and the micro launcher adjustment angle technology. And the reality is I'm having a little bit of camera issues, so again, I apologize for the flicker. I am working with that with the lighting in this shop and the camera. But the reality is I just want to get it on the bow and see how it compares to my older Epsilon, and I want to see how it shoots. Shout out here to Podium to getting me this, which was great. Their shipping was excellent, and I appreciate them. The guys on the online division over there sending it out. But it comes in this beautiful case. I know a lot of people are ripping on it saying, well, it costs more money because of a case. I don't know. All I know is that it probably is going to be in a case if you swap it in and out. So, because you'd have to have somewhere to put it if you're going to put your target version on versus your hunting version on. Comes with a nice set of directions, pretty self-explanatory. It hooks up similar to the Everest and the Epsilon that I've shot in the past. But there are some things that I do like about it. Right off the bat, I like some of the new pads. I'm not a big fan of these. They tend to come off often. But I do like their new ones. I'm hopeful they'll stick pretty good. Typical USB, directions there, but that pad is the same. But these two are a little different. I like that they're lower profile and they're made for quieting out the system. So these will probably get used. I'm appreciative to Hamskea to thinking of the little details here. When I get a rest like this, the first thing I'm thinking about is is it going to be quiet for hunting? Is it going to launch the arrow as accurately as a drop away can? Can I change out the rest so that if I want to do like a lizard or something for targeting, I can? And this one meets those requirements because the previous ones, the Everest and the Epsilon, met those requirements. But it's got some changes too. It's got the new, grip on here, which is feels like a Kevlar tape. It's supposed to be much more durable. I like how I can reach things a little easier. They've all been promoting that online when you see all the videos. Hey, that you can get to things. So they're starting to listen to us that have to deal with different types of bows, like the Hoyt that has kind of that arm guard in front of it blocking you to get to the Epsilon, or the Matthews with its, what is that cable? The cable guard that comes down that kind of gets in front of the rest because it comes down at an angle. Or even the fact that you've got your quivers on the side, and when you're out there and you want to reach some of this stuff, you can't. I'm real pleased to see the bottom adjustments labeled too. Oh, that is really, really nice. I'm going to put this probably right now on the title, and I'm going to show you how it goes on and kind of my thoughts just putting it on. It'll all have to be tuned before I can, really get my shooting thoughts on it, but at least the install thoughts and stuff is what I was thinking here. The other thing is I really wanted to lay this side by side once I get it off the bow against the Epsilon Everest and see what it looks like next to each other. So that's what I'm going to try and do here too, folks. I'm going to try to put them right next to each other so you can see them side by side, because when I was looking at this and talking about whether I'd put it on a bow or not, when you're looking at it in the shop, you don't always have the comparison to stick it right next to, and here it is. This Epsilon, obviously a little older generation, a few years back, but you can see how it matches up profile-wise. It's similar. Now mine was, the core with the burger hole bolt in it. By the way, I do not like how that always rusted. I mean, come on, make something that doesn't rust. And then, of course, it had this little device to clamp its cord down, and those are kind of a pain. Another thing that I didn't like is that it was a little bit angled, and I never liked that. It's not a perfect 90 here where it attached to my bow, and I think that might have always played into my card a little bit there because it torqued it a little. So I won't miss that feature. Otherwise, it held up pretty good. That is like my 5th felt pad on there because I have burned through the felt pads. I'm actually quite pleased with the Epsilon. Epsilon and Everest rest I'm not going to rip them too much. Yeah, it's a little hard getting to things as far as with wrenches and stuff, especially the Allen wrenches. But, you know, it is what it is. Side profile, these things are really, really similar when you lock them up side by side. Now, granted, there's no extra shims in the R7 right now. You're looking at it just as it came out of the box. But you can see these things are very, very similar. They just kind of tweaked them how they work. And on my Epsilon there, you'll see that I've got a little different hookup there for the cable, because I've got the one that actually grabs the cable and not the original that it had on it, where you had to, you know, tie it down. The bottom adjustments, again, are labeled. I love that. The side adjustment here, like I said, it's been upgraded on that Epsilon that I was just pointing to. So they're very similar, but, you know, the one is blacked out. I'll give them that much. I love the fact that everything's got labels. That's fantastic, because when you're looking at this thing upside down on your bow and you want to make an adjustment up or down on that lever, you need to know which way to turn it. And like even these, you know, okay, you loosen it up and you've got little hash marks to move it right and left, but you don't know which way to turn it on the old dial of the Epsilon. And the Epsilon dials are a little smaller, so you got to have, you know, your fingers right. This one's got a right, and it tells you which direction it goes right. And the knobs are bigger. Kudos to you. I mean, if you're going to make it so that a hunter can use it with his gloves on, and he's out in the cold in November making an adjustment on his bow because of a broadhead or something, again, kudos to you. I like how it mounts. I don't miss the burger hole mounting, so I like the new mounting. I like that a lot. I think it's going to take some weight off it. That's what it'll do. We're going to weigh this. I'm gonna take both of these and I'm going to weigh them. Yep, see there, like I said, my felt on this one's already even coming off. It doesn't matter. This one's nicely wrapped around. It's not just on the edges. It's actually wrapped around. I think it's going to hold up a lot better. So, and I know you can buy this material and put it on the old Epsilon, but it is what it is. So here we go. I'm going to grab a scale here, and we're going to see if we can get these things on the scale and see what they weigh. Now, the Epsilon does not have the cord on it, and it's weighing about 410. 415 maybe, so pushing close to 5 ounces. And this guy with the cord, I think it says about 4 ounces, 0.05. If you pick up the cord, you're about 3.85. Yeah, so we're in the 3 ounces, the high 3 ounces with this one. The other one, you're probably pushing close to 5 ounces, especially if you have the bolt on it. Now remember, the burger hole bolt isn't in this one, and there is no burger hole bolt in the other. So I would say one is pushing probably the high 3 ounces, and the other one's pushing 5 ounces, just in my testing here, okay? So that's my thought kind of on the weight thing with it, folks. All right, switching back, I'm going to get back to the title here and see if I can get this thing on the bow. Yes, my title, I hunt with. I know, shoot me if you want, but you know, a long time ago, I was listening to MFJJ on one of his podcasts, and he said, shoot what you like. And then after that, he was doing a review on one of the Matthews bows, and I think he was actually reviewing a title, and he's like, you know, as smooth as this thing is, it'd make a great hunting bow, but it doesn't take a quiver. Forget that. It does take a quiver, and yes, I do have it on, and I've got it working. So it's working fantastic, and I'm really pleased about it. So it doesn't attach very difficultly. You've just got to get the integrated, what do I want to call it, set screw to kind of push up on it, and then it goes on pretty nice. I struggled a little bit just getting it lined up here. The right and the left, you know, that's not an issue. It's just kind of the up and down. Matthews gives you an integrated rest that's about an inch, maybe inch and a half long. So this can slide up and down on it. So there's 2 little marks right next to the black screw or black Allen-headed screw here on Hamskea. And I'm trying to match those up with the little marks on the bow so that the burger hole in that screw are in the same alignment so that I have less adjustment to do down the road. That was what was nice about the Epsilon with the core, or you know, the Everest with the core. That was really nice. You plop those things on, and they were kind of already set. You only had to adjust them or tweak them for what you wanted. This one might have a little bit more adjustment here as I go into it. But I am getting it on. I'm getting it tightened down nicely. It, again, is extremely compact. Way to go, Hamskea. I like that. You know, I've put on a few rips at this point. I've put on some other competition ones. Some of them are big and bulky. And again, when you want to have a TS, you know, low profile quiver right up against here, if you're trying to reduce weight because you want to put it all out on your front end or put it down at the bottom or put it on your back bars, it's nice when things are really, really compact. Now, if you were going to, you know, put a cable-driven rest on a title, like I am, I'd recommend you go with the limb-driven. Again, just because of the way mine's set up, but also because what I've seen and how practical they work. You're not messing with your bus cables. You're not throwing anything off, so I'd highly recommend that. I'm going to take off the quiver here just so you can see me working with the cable. Now, you just loosen this little screw here, and then the cable slides, and I'm going to have to loosen it a bit because I've got to get it through this keeper that's about an inch down the line so I can put it in. Now, normally it comes all on your bow already and in the keeper, but I took it out because I wanted to use the cable that I already had on the bow for the Epsilon because it's already stretched. A pre-stretched cable saves me time, and I love that. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting this in place so that I can put it in the keeper. The only error I'm about ready to make, and I'm making it here right now, is I'm tightening it up without it in the keeper, and then it's going to be hard to get in the keeper. So that isn't going to work really well. I'm going to have to loosen it back up to get in the keeper, but you know, I hate to say it, sometimes you got to figure things out as you go, and that's the way it was with this. Yes, there are directions for this, by the way. No, I didn't read them because, you know, when you're working in your little own pro shop, you just kind of want to do it yourself sometimes. I guess that's a guy trait, but call it what it's worth. So I got to back this thing out, loosen it up, run it through the keeper, tie my knot, and then I'll tighten it up for you guys and get it up and running. My game plan is, once I get this up and running, probably put it back on my vise. Once it's back in there, I'll put the bowstring levels on, make sure the strings are level, rest an arrow against it with the current D-loop and knocking point that I have on the string, and make sure I get leveled up. Once I'm leveled up, I'm probably going to paper tune. Once I'm done paper tuning, I'll do some light torque tuning, and once I get done with torque tuning, I'll probably be shooting this, and I'll see if I can give you a review on my thoughts of how it shoots. But right now, axis-wise, I agree with everybody online. Doesn't matter what video you watch. It's really nice that they got the screws in better places. I like the bigger dials for the micro tunes, and let's be honest, it's really nice that they put markers on them as to which direction they turn. I'd love to see something like that on the Excel sites, the driver in particular, or you know, the landslides, the Accu2 site. They could use that, where you actually have little indicators as to which way they're supposed to turn to go. I think that makes life easier for all of us, not just us old farts that have been in the industry for 35 years. But regardless, I'm going to put back the equipment here. It's pretty easy to put my quiver back on. It's a low-profile TS quiver. I've got it on. Everything looks good, folks. So now I'm just going to take a look at it here after I make sure everything's tight. And this thing's going to be ready to kind of tune. I'm looking forward to shooting it. I'm looking forward to how easy it is to access it. And I'm looking forward to, if I need to move my rest for torque tuning, this one will give me the ability. That is something I did not have with the Epsilon or the Everest. Unless I would put a universal burger hole mount on it, I couldn't do that. So this one, down the road, they're going to come out with little shims that can move it away from my riser, and then that's going to help me to be able to torque tune if I want. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to torque tune this again with just my sight. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you really liked the video. Keep supporting our channel. Like and subscribe. We need it, folks.